Here we are, guys. It's been a little while, hasn't it? Okay, we're back actually making content on YouTube here, and we've got a balance preview for June the 24th. So coming up relatively soon here, and goodness me, last two balance patches, you know, pretty mid, not that exciting. ArenaNet have pulled the rabbit out of the hat for this one. Very funny. It's actually difficult for me to give you a summary of these changes, but what I can tell you is that every single profession, except Warrior, is actually getting some really cool mechanical changes. The last couple of balance patches were obviously very focused on numerical tuning, which, to be honest, doesn't really change the game that much, and I think that left them feeling very wanting. Because the game didn't change. Like, did it become better balanced? I mean, yeah, sure. But did it make the game new and exciting and bring something new to the table? No. This one? Oh, yeah. This absolutely will. In fact, I think this patch is probably going to be more impactful gameplay, meta-wise, and build-wise, like build variety-wise, than the previous two expansions, almost. There's a lot going on here, I think, in terms of adding some new stuff. So, well, let's go ahead and get into it, guys. And first things first, we're going through alphabetically because we did it in alphabetical order, guys. A quick general change, and keep this in your head. We're not going to delve into this too much right now because this is a general change. It will be relevant later on. Blasting a dark field gives you AoE dark aura now instead of blindness. And AoE blindness actually was a really, really powerful effect, actually. So that is actually kind of like worth noting, is that, you know, blasting that will not give you that anymore, which is relevant. But dark aura is also pretty strong too. For those who don't know, it reduces your incoming condition damage, and when you get hit, you give torment to your target. But anyway, put a pin in that. We've got other stuff to talk about first. Yes, and yes, hello YouTube. Welcome to the video. Enjoy the patch analysis. Have a good day. I like how Guru spammed that. He's got the XD tree in there as well. Love to see it. But anyway, first up, Elementalist. And you might be thinking, wow, first line is a nerf. Nobody panic. This is basically to kind of equalize the effectiveness on Hammer between Catalyst and Tempest, because there was some like really crazy stuff going on with Tempest being like absolutely busted. What they've done is they've basically taken the power out of Flame Wheel, which is the 3 spinny skill, and they've just put it into the weapon baseline, right, to equalize it kind of across the board, make it easy to balance, make it kind of, you know, more homogenized across multiple elite specializations to allow Catalyst a bit of room to breathe, and Tempest also, you know, the ability to exist, essentially, like without kind of getting crazy. So these changes, ultimately, they're basically a wash. They said it's just like buff, so good news if you like the numbers. But that is not the fun part. Check this out. And you know what? I'm taking credit for this, guys. I have complained about Elementalist utility skills being very, very boring and kind of lame, just being flat DPS increases a lot, and that, you know, I think is not fun for a long time. That is about to change. So Signet of Water, 3 AoE Condi Cleanse, really nice on support builds in particular. Cleansing Fire, Stun Break, really cool actually. Turns a very mediocre skill into something that's pretty nifty now. Stun Break on a relatively short cooldown, and in PvP removes 4 Condis as well. I could honestly legitimately see that seeing play. Like a relatively short cooldown thing that also removes Condis is always nice. Arcane Power, now we get to the actual fun stuff though. So this is now Arcane Echo. This gave you like guaranteed crits. It was like pretty lame, right? Who cares? But now your weapon skill recharges instantly. So you can do double Meteor Shower. If you're playing Catalyst, you can do triple Meteor Shower with the elite skill. But also what I like about this is how versatile this is. Let's say, you know, on Heal Tempest, sometimes your utility skills don't feel super exciting. But now, take this. Double Geyser, for example. You want Cleanse? Boom. Double Healing Rain. Double Frost Aura with the, you know, Frozen Ground as well. Okay, pretty exciting. Maybe you want to CC stuff. You can do double Static Field, double Rock Line, right, for example. Double Magnetic Aura, right, for loads of stability application, for example. is also another possibility. It's a really cool skill. This feels like an elite skill almost, but on a utility skill. I expect to see this actually pop up on a bunch of builds because of how versatile and interesting it is to use. Really like this. Exactly the kind of thing I think that Elementalist actually needed. And we continue. We're not done yet. Glyph Mental Elemental Power. Really weird ability, to be honest. Actually ended up being relatively strong because it just gave you a bunch of damage, and having it as a stub break is also pretty nifty. But now we get an AoE effect, right, which is really nice because this was kind of a weird thing that kind of procced on a single target. It was awkward and odd. But now, if you're in fire, you do damage and burn nearby enemies. Super nice. Water, you remove conditions. Air, you daze enemies around you. AoE daze. And Earth Barrier. So, what does that mean? Heal Tempest can do Barrier now, potentially. You've got more Colony Cleanse as well. You've got more CC. Again, super versatile, interesting effect that you can utilize and, you know, use in a variety of situations. It's a utility skill, right? So that's also really nice, in my opinion. Pyromancer's Puissance here. This trait no longer removes might, so they've just basically power crept this. Okay, oh, I guess I should mention this, guys. I hope you like power creep, because, oh boy, we're going Urson way with this patch. Let me tell you that. So basically what this did was that you, whenever you swapped attunement, basically, away from fire, you did some AoE damage, like some burning, and then you shared might. Now, but you also lost might, right? But now, you're just going to share that might. You're not going to lose it on yourself. So it's just like a much better ability. This trait, look how cool this is! Okay, and this is a big theme of this patch, is that we're actually adding some traits that aren't just like, oh, 5% damage, oh, do a bit of damage. We're seeing some really interestingly, like, creative mechanical design going on here. Blinding Ashes. This basically blinded when you burn people. Now, burning now scales with power instead of condition damage. So let's say you're playing a Power Weaver, right, or any kind of Elementalist build, and this is kind of true of a lot of LE builds, actually, is that you end up applying a bunch of conditions. Burning, for example, bleeding is pretty common on a lot of LE builds, even if you're a power build, right? Like Sword, for example, on Power Weaver. Right? Now, you take this trait, that burning is going to scale with your power instead of your condition damage. So you're going to be this kind of crazy hybrid build. Really interesting trait. Could end up being insanely strong, by the way, on certain builds. Could be, but this could be busted, depending on like how this works. And if like the Flame Legion runes, it's actually no longer a meme. Flame Legion runes prices are already up massively. It's crazy time. We're living in a crazy, wild existence here. So yeah, it could be really insanely strong, actually. But also just mechanically interesting. Like, again, where the hell was this in the previous two patches, guys? Seriously, what is going on? They finally unchained Trig and CMC. Soothing Disruption basically just made this trait way more exciting. So you still get Vigor, or you give Regeneration, sorry. Always get Regen when you pop a cantrip, but now Ether Renewal is going to give you Vigor, Cleansing Fire Fury, Mistform Stability after you leave Mistform, Lightning Flash is going to give you Resistance, Armor of Earth is going to give you Aegis, Tornado is going to give you Protection. And this was just kind of one of those traits that got left behind, didn't really get power crept along with the rest of the game. And now it's going to be a lot more attractive. Ether Renewal also got significantly buffed in terms of its overall healing. It's a relatively awkward ability because it has this kind of long channel. But, you know, if you can get that channel off, it is really powerful. And it has seen play before. You know, it's popped up, I think in particular, on Fresh Air builds, actually, in PvP. So that could potentially, like, pop up there again because that ability did end up getting buffed, too. This trait could be interesting, like, maybe on support builds in PvP. Potentially, or builds that are kind of looking for a bit more sustain, because usually the water trait line is on support builds. It has occasionally been on kind of bunker-oriented builds, so maybe the absolute hellscape of bunker Elementalist comes back in PvP with the with this. But listen, okay, we can only hope that doesn't happen. And of course, Arcane Lightning is being updated to kind of account for Arcane Echo's new functionality. It's going to give you quickness when you pop this ability. So basically, you recharge your last weapon skill, and then bam, you also have some quickness to use it there as well. Kind of a thing that, you know, might see, you know, pop up in PvP if you end up using the Arcane trait line. Arcane is really hard though in PvP because obviously it turns out that Evasive Arcana, pretty good trait, so a lot of very stiff competition there. To be honest, with that one. But I think it could actually happen because I believe that this trait does see some play in PvP right now, if I'm not mistaken. I think I could be wrong on that though. Listen, I'm getting old at this point, guys. I'm getting old and senile. But we're kind of saving the best till last here. You can move while using Tailored Victory. Yeah, that's the biggest change. Nice quality of life, actually. And Elemental Bastion. Okay, look at this one, guys. Look at this. Goodness me. This trait causes auras to grant alacrity in PvE only. So this is pretty much the trait that Heal Ellie has wanted for a very long time. And I think alongside this other stuff, some of these utility skill changes, Heal Tempest is going to be pretty exciting. I think it still has a couple of issues with Boon Radius on some of the overloads, which, you know, it's a little bit annoying, but it's definitely workable, to be honest. This, though, just gives you way more healing. It makes the entire build way better across the board. It means you can heal outside of water way easier. It's actually hard to describe how much better Heal Ellie will be, actually. It's so much better now that you can use this. This addresses so many issues that build actually has. So, yeah, if you're Heal Tempest main, you're getting juiced. Okay, this is a good time, guys. This is a very, very good time. Okay, next up, also beginning with E, is Engineer. And the theme here is kind of a lot of reworks to elixirs and kits. Pretty much just making them better and shuffling some stuff around here as well. Like, you know, funny enough, I think some of the stuff is slightly to the detriment of Mechanist because a lot of really powerful abilities are actually ending up on the tool belt. Very notably, Smoke Bomb is now an instant cast Smoke Field, which is super cool actually on the tool belt skill. Same with Smoke Vent. This is the stun break on Flamethrower. That's now a tool belt skill, which is actually super nice. You're going to access that very, very easily. Finally, I think one of the most despicable... I think this is actually one of my most hated, and I think most PvPers, I think, hate this trait so much. It's so obnoxious. Days above health threshold. Like, who cooked this? Well, I'll tell you, well, I think we all know who cooked this. But anyway, yeah, that's been reworked now into Grand Entrance. Explosive Entrance gives you resistance and increased crit chance for a short period of time, as opposed to having that really obnoxious days when you get hit above 90% when you have Explosive Entrance. So I like that change a lot. But yeah, like just a bunch of stuff happening here. Like Elixir B extending boons on you. Elixir Smiley Face instantly heals you for each boon you have when it converting conditions. Elixir R is now a stun break. So this is, I honestly, a lot of these changes I feel like could have some impact in PvP. Because Engineer is one of these builds in PvP that's really struggling, in my opinion, with survivability right now. It has damage, it has the ability to kill stuff, but it's just a little bit too vulnerable. And there's a lot of changes across the board here that I think are kind of aimed at helping it survive a little bit more in PvP. Again, on Hollowsmith in particular, notice this. Holographic Shockwave, this is an evade now. The 5th skill on Hollowforge, super nice. Vent Exhaust, this is one of the Grandmaster traits. You're going to get Vigor on Dodge now as well. So that will help you survive if you end up taking that trait in PvP. And Prime Light Beam also does more damage in PvP on the initial attack there too. Gadgeteer, maybe you want another stun break. Slick Shoes to CC people. You now get stability and you break stuns when you pop that. So it's like a massive buff to this ability. I feel like, did ArenaNet want you to use gadgets, man? Like, they're going to keep buffing utility goggles until you are literally forced to use it. It's going to happen. You know, like we'll get there eventually, guys, right? Firearms Grandmaster, brand new one here as well. Grandmaster trait, you get quickness and stab when you disable an enemy. That could be really, really strong, actually. If that ends up having, you know, like some good numbers on that. Iron-Blooded, this is like a full rework. This like a really, really tanky trait that you can take. Every boon you have, you get less damage. Now, when you have a combo, you blast or leap, you're going to get barrier, and every third trigger, this little mini game baked into it, you get an even bigger barrier, and you get some might there as well. I think some really exciting mechanical changes here. And again, we talked about the kits here. Boom, Fumigate, now self-cleanses too. This is actually a pretty impactful change in my opinion, because Elixir Gun is a really popular weapon on Engineer builds, both for damage builds and support builds. The fact that you can pop this to cleanse yourself is really, really nice, as opposed to just cleansing allies. So that's like a really good quality of life change there. Detection Pulse is named Flashbang. Okay, so now we've got an ability called Flashbang, and, well, I guess they actually, it doesn't share a name with the trait because they renamed this to Grand Entrance. But yeah, this is now, you throw out an explosive shell to reveal people. That's pretty nifty because it means you don't have to be like directly in to get reveals. You can kind of fire it where you think the opponent is, basically, to reveal them. So you have that similar kind of functionality there on Detection Pulse. So I actually like that change from a design perspective quite a lot, in my opinion. The bomb changes, like we have galvanic bomb. So we've got brand new bombs here, pretty much. So you electrocute them. So this is a daze now. So bomb kit's very CC focused because now smoke bomb is replaced by magnet bomb. Magnet bomb sets an explosive that pulls enemies in after delay. Honestly, kind of nice little bit of utility there, to be honest, on the bomb kit. So you can like group everyone up and then blast them and get some really good cleave going on there. Big old bomb is now replacing glue bomb. So glue bomb is gone now, but now you have this big old bomb on your kit, as opposed to on your toolkit. So now it's a CC, so no more trolling and knocking enemies away. It just CCs everything. And then it also combos twice, right? How cool is that? Right, like that is insanely hype, no? You love to see that. And it's also a bigger radius. Very, very exciting, actually, in my opinion. Some kind of quality of life and making abilities that's gimmicky on Flamethrower as well. So Flame Blast doesn't damage enemies it passes through. It just like, you know, when you get the explosion, so it's just kind of more of a easy to understand ability, basically. So it does more damage and it applies more burning. Napalm is moved to the 5th slot and reworked. Supercharge your Flamethrower, damaging burning enemies in a large cone in front of you. So kind of really leaning into that Flamethrower roleplay here, if that makes any sense. And you also have Stoke the Flames, brand new skill. You get quickness and might while burning nearby enemies on that. Grenade kit, you now just have grenade velocity baseline. You don't need to take grenadier for this. That opens up that trait slot a little bit. It's still really good though. Having that radius increase is super strong. Like, you know, in PvP, for example, being able to, you know, kind of hit people easier with the bigger AoEs is super, super nice there. Juggernaut, oh, dude, I feel like some Flamethrower NG mains, they're not gonna like this, guys. It's been moved to Master Tier, which does obviously give you some more trait flexibility, but it doesn't pull stability anymore. And it said grant stability in Fire Aura when you use Napalm. Of course, you know, Napalm is, we don't know what the cooldown is exactly, but maybe it's similar to 25 seconds. You'll still have like relatively high access to stability, but you won't have that pulsing perma-stab anymore. Let's be real, that kind of thing is pretty obnoxious. You don't really want to have builds like that kind of like prevent player interaction, right? I think it's kind of one of those builds that can feel very frustrating to play against, right? Like with, you know, little peepos there and kind of stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know. It is what it is. It is what it is, my friends. With that one. Yeah, dude, yeah, bomb kit. Bombs, guys. They're coming. Giga, yeah, that's true, actually. You can Giga Blast it to get loads of quickness, can't you, actually? With Scrapper, although I'm not sure if it will fit into that build exactly. But yeah, I think some really cool changes, like some proper good mechanical changes here with this. Again, I think that this could really help engineer in PvP. I think there'll be some experimentation with this because I think some of these changes can really help Hollowsmith in particular kind of actually live, right? And give it a bit more sustain, a little bit more evasiveness so it can kind of survive in the current meta. Because in the current meta, you have to be very tanky to live in PvP. There's a lot of damage, a lot of mobility. You need to have good defensive cooldowns to survive, right? Because like Hollowsmith, it can definitely see play in ranked, but I've seen players try to play it in competitive, and goodness me, you just get eaten alive. You get absolutely eaten alive in that type of situation. Yeah, we'll see how that obviously pans out. But yeah, cool stuff there for NG, I think. Expect some rejiggling on some of those builds. Next, Guardian. And actually, Guardian, relatively light there. And that actually makes sense here, right? Guardian, at the end of the day, I feel like is doing well in every game mode right now. Does it need to have some really big major mechanical changes? I really don't think it does, right? I don't think Guardian players are unhappy. Like, Willbender is good. Firebrand is good. Dragon Hunter. Look, Magras loves it. He's having a lot of fun with that, playing Dragon Hunter. So just some kind of more basic changes here. The big mechanical change here is to Ray of Judgment. This skill is going to be really cool. Check this out. So this is Focus 4. This skill now strikes in a ground-targeted area. Areas get Cleanse of a Condition and get regen. Enemies struck get the little ray of light on them that deals continuous damage. And dude, if you proc this on a burn guard with Permeating Wrath, that's going to be crazy AoE damage, right? Because it does all these little AoE hits that will then chain off each other if you hit a bunch of targets with Ray of Judgment. It does more damage in PvE as well, so that's really cool. This is a really cool skill. It's almost like an elite skill level of coolness there. Orb of Wrath, you might actually hit something with the projectiles now. Chains of Light, cooldown going down to 15 seconds, just better utility on the Scepter weapon. Shield of Wrath cooldown is going down as well with Shield of Wrath. So, I mean, there you go. It's slightly better. Guardian just getting some kind of changes here, some mechanical changes. Leap of Faith is going to give you more healing, and additional hits will heal you even more. So, again, this ability is going to be giving you sustain and that mobility as well. Pretty nifty there. So, again, for Willbender, for example, is going to like that in PvP. Allowing you, if you connect like a really big hit with this, it can resustain you a little bit. Symbol of Resolution, pretty spicy here. You're going to get additional damage on the first start. So when you plunge your sword into the ground, you're going to get more damage. So it kind of changes the damage profile here. Right? Gives you that damage profile of having even more burst damage. And if you're able to connect that, you're going to get that front-loaded damage in PvP as well. So if you can wallop people with that, then they get punished immediately, and if they stay in the symbol, they're going to take even more damage. Binding Blade, this is another big rework here. Projectiles can only hit their original target. So why are they changing this? It's because, and there's a couple of skills like this, like Spectral Grasp is one of these, where if there's other enemies around you, you can go in the hitbox of a target, and all the projectiles you fire at that target, all of those targets around your main target, they'll hit the target you want to hit, right? That doesn't work anymore. They're giving it more damage, and the pull distance is going up to 750. That's actually big, by the way. This is big in every game mode. It means that, let's say you're on a boss with ads in PvE, you're going to be able to pull them in more effectively and also more consistently, right? Because they won't get like eaten by a main target. Let's say you're on Slothosaur, right, and you want to pull in Slublings. You can now do that while being inside the hitbox of the sloth, because the projectiles will kind of go through the boss, right? We'll only hit it once, and then we'll leave the boss, and you can pull the slubs. 750 is a big deal, by the way. That's nearly double. That's very significant in terms of the pull. Again, also in PvP. Is very, very relevant for that. And it just kind of means you can't do any weird shit where you like one-shot stuff or one-shot people by using this inside the hitbox. It was gimmicky, let's be honest, right? This is gimmicky as hell. So yeah, way more consistency on actually getting the pull effect, essentially, on that, which I think is a good thing, right? You know, it kind of gives it that purity of purpose almost, so you can kind of use it for what it's intended to be used for instead of this kind of like weird side effect gimmick, right? So I'm in favor. Line of Warding, it's a relatively slow cast. I mean, it's going to just make this ability way more usable, 0.4 seconds now. So you want to block people off in PvP, you can get this more effectively in World versus World as well, and just use it for CC easier in PvE. Just like a straight up, it's just buffed, right? It's just better now. It's a good skill, it's made even better. Signet of Wrath. The skill inflicts burning. This just makes a little bit more sense to be honest. It is the condition damage signet, so making it give a condition makes sense. Signet of Judgment. This skill no longer inflicts burning, and now it inflicts blind and weakness on nearby enemies. So yeah, this is actually already a good skill. The fact that it now AoE blinds and gives weakness, this is like a really powerful survivability tool, in my opinion, for Guardian in PvP. And World versus World. It's already like a decent skill. I believe this does see a little bit of play, actually, to be honest, because it has this kind of pretty nifty negative 10% incoming damage effect. And now when you pop it, you're going to get resolution, protection, and you're going to blind and weakness nearby enemies. Like really strong ability now, actually, in terms of survivability. And it's also, I believe it's a stun break. Yeah, it is, with a very short core. It's a damn good skill. And Shield of the Avenger grants protection with allies within its dome. I mean, that makes sense. Could this see play? I can imagine this seeing some kind of niche play, actually. To be honest, you don't really need extra prot in PvE. So maybe some kind of interesting competitive build that, you know, wants to apply a bunch of protection and also block projectiles in some kind of projectile-oriented metagame. I could definitely imagine that popping up at some point. And the final change for Guardian is Dragon Hunter changes. This trait now also applies its bonus damage against enemies that are exposed. I actually, dude, this is what I'm talking about, man. Seriously, this is what I'm talking about. I love that we're not doing boring traits. That is so interesting. So, basically, what this means is that when you look here. It says deal increased strike damage to disabled or defiant foes, but now you're getting bonus damage against exposed enemies, so when they have the exposed debuff. Really cool, I think, actually. Really nifty effect. That's kind of targeting, like, okay, you just broke the Defiance bar, and now you can unleash, like, the Giga Burst. That's really exciting, I think. This is the kind of design that I really think the game has been lacking. We're adding some flavor. Like, these traits are gameplay impacting and change the way that you play the game. Yeah, 100%. Like, this is what basically every balance patch has been massively lacking, in my opinion, for a significant amount of time. And I think this really shows that ArenaNet is honestly really responding to feedback here. I think they got some big feedback that players did not like removing flavor from the game and kind of homogenizing stuff a little bit. And yeah, they're trying to counteract that. And I respect this. This is a good direction to go in, for sure, actually. Kind of love to see that. Next up, Mesmer. Is Mesmer getting nerfed? Does it deserve it, guys? Let's be honest. Mesmer deserves it. But fear not, Mesmer mains. You guys are actually mostly escaping the nerf hammer. The big thing, and this is an interesting approach. This is actually probably the one thing from the patch that I'm not the biggest fan of. They don't like power block and interrupting or distracting daggers on Thief, giving you increased cooldown when you get an interrupt. I'm not sure about that. I actually think that power block was a really cool, flavorful trait, because it gave you that 15-second interrupt. So, for example, if you land it on a heal skill, you've got Mantra of Distraction, or you're playing Mirage and you have the Daze on your sword ambush, and you get someone's heal skill, you disable it for 15 seconds. That was a really cool, unique thing that this build could bring to the table. You get a damage bonus instead now, but I actually think that's actually significantly more boring, and depending on how strong that damage bonus is, I think actually a lot weaker. I think that extended interrupt was a really powerful component of the Power Mirage build that's really good in PvP right now, and I think taking that away, I'm not actually the biggest fan of that. We'll have to see how it turns out. Maybe you can just obliterate people with power block, but I don't know. I think that's actually an anti-flavor move. I'm just not sure if I'm totally into that, guys. Oh, look, dude. Look, the 3 people who still play Mirage in PvE, guys, they fixed the bug that's been in the game since launch in 2017, I think, actually. Oh, no. Look, well, actually, oh, yes, actually. Look, guys, clones casting this skill will no longer be interrupted when getting Mirage Cloak. The build is actually playable now. Nice, okay? Oh, that's funny. Oh, that's funny stuff, actually. You love to see it. I mean, yeah, this is big. Basically, this build was insanely cancerous to play because you had to kind of try to avoid interrupting your clones so you wouldn't lose damage on those clones, essentially, with Acts of Symmetry. But now that is no longer going to be the case, okay? That's like, you know, that feels pretty good, right? That feels pretty good, I think. But anyway, Phase Retreat, Chaos Armor, and Chaos Storm. Cooldown going down in World vs. Sword and PvP. Doesn't really see that much play, honestly. World vs. Sword roaming. You can definitely play Staff, I think. Although I think it's not really the most common choice these days. And in PvP, I don't think Staff really sees a lot of play right now. Like, there's a lot of really good weapons, honestly, for Mesmer. Obviously, Spear being incredibly dominant right now. And, you know, on the condition side, right, like Axe Shield, for example, really, really good for Condi builds. So there's like a lot of good weapons. So Staff struggling to compete, but, you know, look, this is patch 1. Maybe they'll, you know, they'll keep buffing it, guys. Eventually, it's going to be good. Furious Interruption, you get Might and Quickness when you CC now. So if you're able to land that, you know, you get like a massive power spike there, potentially. So maybe combined with Power Block, you're just going to go crazy and do insane DPS when you get these ruts. So Quickness, and you get a bunch of Might, and you get that damage mod. Could see that. And I actually really like this change into Evasive Mirror. So you cleanse a Condi and get Swiftness when you evade. And Swiftness is one of those boons that's kind of weirdly uncommon on Mesmer, actually. It's kind of weird to think about, but it kind of is. So now on the dueling trait line, you're going to get Swiftness and also Condi Cleanse. And those are 2 things that Mesmer actually really struggles with in PvP, in my opinion. So that kind of allows you to have that option. So a good design change overall there, in my opinion. And then going on to Chronomancer. A couple of rejiggling here, basically to make the... How would I describe this? These changes are aimed at making the build process for Chronomancer builds less awkward. So Flow of Time, you get critical strike chance when you have a lack. So basically that means you always have bonus crit chance as opposed to having to go into a specific trait, and then you've got to have slow on the target to crit cap. Really weird, right? Now, that's not going to be the case. In fact, you're still going to get a bonus, though, at Danger Time. You get critical strike damage, right? When the target has slow. Really cool, right? So instead of having, like, to design your class or your build setup around having perma slow to crit cap, blech, you don't have to do that anymore. You now get flow of time, which does that for you, essentially. Quick clarification, this trait still gives you the alacrity when you shatter as well, by the way, guys. That was clarified by Trig in the chat. Illusionary Reversion now grants alacrity in addition to its previous effect. So this is the one that basically, if you shatter clones, you get a clone, you're now going to get alacrity. I actually think... I feel like this will end up seeing play on support Mesmer in PvP, I want to say. Or it could do at least. More alac uptime on heal Mesmer. Feels pretty good, I think. If you can kind of proc this with some reliability, which I think should be the case. Because the adept traits in PvP for support Mesmer are not amazing. Like, you know, adding the super speed to make your interrupt, for example, more consistent is not the worst thing in the world. Which is kind of like the other trait that you could play, but you don't typically play... you know, you're not going to get a crazy amount of value out of, like, the healing wells, I feel like. Because, you know, you're very reliant on mantra healing and obviously weapon skill healing and shatter healing in PvP. So I could imagine you picking that up there just to get a bit of free alacrity, a bit of extra clone generation, and just a little bit of just, you know, just more value there. So that could happen. And improved alacrity just gives you the improved alacrity anymore. The increased critical strike damage is now going over to danger time, which this was a really weird trait, right? It was a very, very weird trait. Kind of had this weird dual purpose of being a DPS trait, but also this kind of utility trait that gives you better alacrity as well. It was honestly rather unusual. So now there's a little bit more defined roles. Like danger time is going to give you that really juicy critical strike damage. You're getting the crit for free and flow of time. And improved alacrity is just going to give you that really juiced up alacrity if you want to get your cooldowns back. So, you know, support builds, for example, are really going to love that. Of course, Giga alacrity is still really good for DPS builds, obviously. So we'll have to see kind of how that pans out. But crit damage in general is really strong. So I imagine it's going to be intended that danger time is what you play for DPS. And then a little bit for Mirage over here as well. Okay, and look, guys, Boon Mirage is actually getting some changes. Can you believe it? Split Surge. Cooldown goes down to 0.5 seconds. This is, of course, the Greatsword Ambush. And the power coefficient is going up in PvE. Look, guys, if they keep buffing it, Power Mirage is eventually going to be good, right? Right? Surely? But yeah, the really big change here is this. Mirage Mantle. This trait now causes ambush skills to grant boons to nearby allies. And what boons, you ask? Oh yeah, alacrity is on that list. So that means you are no longer shackled to staff to give alacrity. You have other options to do that now. And I think this honestly really makes some kind of interesting options here. Like this means that maybe you can have some kind of like wacky ass heal Mirage. DPS Alacrity Mirage can now, I think, have a bit of room to breathe as well. Opens up a lot of new build variety in that regard, in my opinion. And then a couple of other changes here. Mirrored Axes. It's been reworked and renamed to Phantom Pain. This causes shatter skills to grant a damage bonus based on the number of illusions shattered. So again, it's no longer an axe trait. It's now a generic DPS trait. And this, I think, is something that ArenaNet is trying to move away from, because this kind of thing made a lot more sense when elite specs had weapons tied to them. Stuff like this makes way less sense, way less sense now that we have this weapon mastery, right? 50% damage to the spear with Mirage Mantle. That was actually addressed specifically. Basically, this trait is set up to replace it. So in other words, the damage is being moved, basically, from Mirage Mantle onto Mirrored Axes. So you are still going to have that Power Mirage DPS option with the spear build, but it's now going to apply to all weapons. So you're not even locked to spear. It means you can use any weapon and still have access to that damage increase. And then finally we have Dune Cloak. This trait now reduces the cooldown of Mind Rack and Craft Frustration upon gaining Mirage Cloak, in addition to its previous effects. And basically, yeah, this means if you, what it does right now is if you shatter, you get Mirage Cloak. And now you get Mirage Cloak, and that's going to recharge your shatters. Actually, really cool trait. It's kind of like this, you know, cooldown, like heavy cooldown reduction, like big damage. Keep using ambushes. You can shatter more, and then shatter will give you, use your shatters correctly with 2 clones. That's going to give you Mirage. It's going to, again, fuel again. This type of design is really good. Look, guys, I don't want to be that guy, but a lot of the design here is screaming at me with World of Warcraft class design, and I mean that in the best possible way. I am loving that. This is really giving me World of Warcraft vibes in the best way possible. I consider the class design in that game to be excellent, and we're basically kind of seeing that pop up in Guild Wars 2 now, which I think is a really good sign, in my opinion. I think this is a really cool trait, actually. Really cool trait. Can definitely see this actually popping up. In a lot of areas, actually, and you know, having this really interesting build, like this trait, like this is what a Grandmaster trait should be. It will significantly influence your playstyle, right? It's not just giving you damage or giving you like, oh yeah, some numbers pop up or giving you boons. It's something that's actually going to alter how you play the game, which I think is really exciting. We'll have to see what the numbers look like, how this is tuned, but yeah, I think you know, the obvious one to me will be, I could imagine this popping up in PvP, especially if, you know, maybe you don't really care about the cleanse so much, because the cleanse is really nice when you get Mirage Cloak in PvP, but maybe the cleanse from the dueling trait line can actually kind of make that work, right? With, what is it? Yeah, Evasive Mirror, right? Maybe now you can go for Dune Cloak and just have even more Mirage Cloak uptime and even more damage output, right? From Mind Rack and Craft Frustration. Really cool. Necromancer. Ooh. This one is going to be really interesting to see how this one actually pans out. So a lot of the effort here has gone on to a change in transfusion. We have a couple of basic things that we'll just get out of the way real quick. So life transfer, it casts way faster now, and you get more life force per hit from 0.5 to 1%. Aftercast, yeah, the Aftercast in World of Doom is pretty long, actually. Now that you mention it, it is pretty long. Fleshworm goes in reduced cooldown when the summon is dismissed from upon mounting, quality of life, blah, 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 blah. Mark of Blood is triggered by allies. That's interesting. I wonder why that might be, but we'll get to that in a moment. Lich Form. Cool changes here as well, actually. Deathly Claws is the auto attack. It inflicts bleeding. So now if, let's say you're a conditioned Necromancer and you're using this build, you're going to get, you know, not only the power damage, but also some bleeding, which is really cool. I think cooldown going down to 120 seconds is very relevant, by the way. Like, 150 is so long. 120 feels a lot more playable. I think they could maybe even go further and kind of take that down to 90, to be honest, because 120 on an elite skill these days is, man, this skill had better be the sickest skill ever, right? Like, because, you know, cooldowns in general have gone down a lot, so I think this is still on the higher end. But we'll see what happens. Bear in mind, Lich Form is really interesting, by the way. It's a transform, and it does actually give you a bunch of extra precision. So this is something that you might have noticed in PvP, maybe without really kind of knowing why this is the case. But when you pop this, you actually crit a lot. So even if you are a conditioned build, your power damage will kind of be relevant here. But now we're also going to have some bleeding there as well. Could this end up seeing play? I want to say maybe. I want to say you could play this on Core Necro. And I think that's kind of where they want to go with this. The Terramancer build. So, you know, notably they're improving Life Transfer, which already gives bleeding right now, but now it's going to apply bleeding faster and give you more life force. Whale of Doom, you play this on Terramancer. Aftercast goes down, big deal, so you can chain skills more effectively. And then Lich Form, right, which is, you know, on Reaper, Condi Reaper, you're going to go with the Shout. On Scourge, you're going to go with Breach a lot of the time. On Harb, you're going to go Elixir. But on Core, you play Plague Lands a lot of the time, I think. And that's pretty mid. I'm not going to lie, guys. Like, yeah, you can own someone with it. You can really do some good air, like plop that down on the point, right? And you can deny it in PvP. But it's pretty mid in my opinion. It's not the best skill in the universe. It's very slow and very easy to play around, right? Lich Form, though, hold on. We summon our little minions, they explode. We've got bleeding now on the auto attack. We've got our fear, which is great for the terror, right? On the 3 skill there, we've got the vitality drain on the 5 skill. And now, Lich's Gaze. It fires a projectile that chills and corrupts. So very similar to Shroud 2 on Core Necro, right? And again, this has been reworked. It probably will have a longer cooldown than 1.5 seconds. You know, you'll probably be able to use it a couple. I think they said on the stream you'll be able to use it a couple of times in Lich form. But again, Corrupt Boon in Lich form, okay. 120-second cooldown, all right. Bit of a power move in a team fight. Maybe you want to end a 1v1, you just slam people with this. Okay, yeah, I could see this popping up on Core Necro. I think Core Necro is not exactly like a meta build right now in PvP. I think Necro in general, oh, excuse me. I've been ill, I'm still recovering from this cold. Unbelievable. Okay, I think I've got old and weak. You hate to see it, guys, you really do. But yeah, I think this could actually see some play on Core Necro builds. Necro in general, like I said, you know, not to reiterate this too much, I think it is not doing super hot in PvP right now. But who knows, the meta will change and maybe it's going to be Lich form, guys. Maybe it's time. Seers of Suffering. Increase the base life siphon damage from 650 to 102 in 1002 in PvP. Increase the base life siphon healing, again in PvP in World vs. World. I think this trait is just one of those things that's a little bit lame. At this point, it does have that boon removal now. It used to be boon corrupt. Okay, bring us back, man. Bring us back to the boon corrupt. But now, I mean, it is going to give you a lot more sustain, especially if you pop it with Locust Signet because it hits multiple targets. Are you taking this? I mean. What does this compete with? The thing is, you then have to commit to signets as well. And there's like some pretty good options. Like Chill of Death is a pretty decent ability in Spite. And the thing is, you're often going to be playing this on a power build. I don't know. Like maybe in World vs. World, like a World vs. World thing, like for the boon removal. I could imagine that happening with like the Locust Signet because it's going to be AOE. But I think it's a slightly tough sell, to be honest. Sometimes. I'm not sure. I think the thing is, I'm not sure if there's a build that this like really fits into, if that makes any sense, right? It's like the trait itself is not bad, but I feel there isn't the support for something like this to exist. Exactly, but yeah. Anyway, now we get to the big stuff. Oh, I'll quickly do the Harbor thing. In PvE, you lose less health. That's really nice. Having like 2k HP in a convergent CM doesn't feel good, guys. And now you'll have 5k health. Hell yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Anyway, here's the big one. Heal Scourge is getting a rework. Transfusion. Marks can now be triggered by allies and will heal and grant additional supportive effects for allies when triggered. Create Chillblains at your location, which is the 3rd mark, when you use your 4th Shroud skill. So Mark of Blood, boom, AoE Vigor. Chillblains, AoE Prot, big heal, presumably. Putrid Mark, AoE Condi Cleanse. Nice. Reaper's Mark, Stability. It's 3 stacks for 5 seconds as well, by the way. So that's 10. By the way, this is kind of big. So this skill has a 20-second cooldown with Alacrity in PvE, I believe. I think it's 25 base. Oh, hold on. 18 seconds base. Whoa. Okay, dude, the stab up time on that is actually pretty tasty then. Because if you're at 100% boon duration, that's what? Yeah, 10 seconds of stability. AoE. With that, pretty nifty. And then with Alacrity, that's going to be giving you, well over 50% uptime, which is pretty strong. But we are losing. Right, look. This does come at a very heavy cost. No revive on F4 anymore. And no pulsing healing. And also, this is a weird gimmick, but this is very specifically, this is something special about Transfusion. Transfusion, because it was a revive skill, it couldn't care about subgroup priority, and that means that it was very good at kind of healing the other subgroup. It was also a pulsing heal that was nearly 100% update. It was very, very good. For this reason, it could heal the other sub really easily. It could revive people around you in a massive, and it would heal and revive people in a huge 600 radius. It would apply Mercy Relic to everyone that it touches, which is insane, to be honest. So our res power is going down. The pulse healing is going away, which I think actually really sucks, to be honest. But why are they doing this? You might be asking why they're doing this, and I'll explain why. Heal Scourge, right now in its current state, at the end of the day, is a very niche build. You play it specifically if you want very heavy barrier, very heavy Condi Cleanse, and the ability to sustain and revive multiple downstate bodies. This is making it more of a build that kind of makes sense within the context of Guild Wars 2 combat. For example, this completely opens up support builds in PvP and World versus World, whereas that's just, right now, that's not really a thing. And when it was very unhealthy. Transfusion in particular was, and support Scourge was spectacularly unhealthy and toxic in World versus World and in PvP, actually. When it was more of a thing with Blood Scourge back in the day. This is a much healthier design. And I have a feel, it depends, I want to say it depends on the numbers. I have a feeling this might end up being weaker in PvE. It kind of depends on the radius. If the radius of this is 600, that will be insane. I don't think it will be, to be honest, because the mark radius is only, you know, the blast radius is 300, so it's not the biggest, but not the smallest. But yeah, if it was like that big, that would be insane. But it looks like it's, you know, it's in the explosion area, right? But it does make it healthier. I want to say this, it's probably going to need another pass after this to really make it good, because do you know what the problem is with this? Is that it's making the build kind of make more sense and have a healthier design, but that means it's now competing with the disgusting power creep, right? Now, Heal Scourge has to actually go toe-to-toe with Heal Chrono. Good luck with that. Because you might go, whoa, stability on Reaper's Mark. And then Chrono saying, yo guys, I've got Mantra of Concentration, 600 radius, 5 stacks of stability. Oh, it's only 3 in PvE to be fair. But yeah, when you make these comparisons, you know, the barrier's still going to be really good, to be honest. And you're still going to be able to res people up with the, you know, the double Bloodwell. That's going to be super nice, actually. But I think we're probably going to need a bit more, because unless the numbers are absolutely insane, which who knows, maybe they are, right? Maybe the numbers are going to be cracked. I think this will struggle to compete with a lot of the other builds in PvE, to be honest. And it is losing some of that kind of niche, very special utility that it had in terms of that revive power. And losing pulsing healing also feels pretty bad, to be honest. It also does lock you into a weapon skill. If you're going to play Transfusion, this means you do now have to play Staff. Right? So Heal Scourge is probably going to end up going with Staff, and then any main hand could be Dagger. It can be Sword, obviously. And then the offhand will be Warhorn or Torch. I think you'll play Warhorn if you can get away with it, because you want the AoE heal, and the AoE swiftness is actually super nice. Torch if you need the Might. Might, I think, usually sorts itself out pretty well. You're still going to have Might from applying your barrier and so on. And usually the quickness provider also churns out a bunch of Might too. So you've got to, you know, kind of bear that in mind. So you can probably get away with Warhorn most of the time for the healing and stuff. But it, you know, this build is going to end up pretty well-rounded, to be honest, which I think is, you know, pretty interesting. I think design-wise, this is probably a step in the right direction. Will we need to see more changes? It's definitely possible. You know, depending on the numbers, depending on, like, you know, if other stuff gets changed, right, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I think pretty exciting stuff. I was kind of hoping for some Dark Aura synergy, because this patch also is about Dark Aura. That would be very thematic, I feel like, for Heal Necro. Maybe that's coming next patch. I think it's also worth noting that this could be interesting, actually, in competitive. For example, what's worth noting is that in Blood Magic, there's a trait that when it says whenever you dodge, you also get a mark of blood, right? And that could be kind of cool. In PvP, for example, there's a Harbinger build that does use Blood Magic right now. It does use Blood Bank, which is a super strong trait, and you'd have to give up Blood Bank for this. But that could give you some Vigor application for Necromancer. You can dodge a little bit more if you play with Transfusion there, for example, and give you a little bit of sustain. In that regard, because bear in mind, you get additional support effects. So you still get the offensive effect, you still get the fear, you still get the condition transfer, you're still going to get the chill and the poison rate, you're still going to get the damage components of this. So there's also some possibility for this trait to have applications in other game modes outside of PvE as well, I think. So we'll have to see how this actually pans out. I think I would like to see some changes to Scourge's utility skills, maybe giving ammo to them. Like, for example, I think giving the Snake ammo could be really cool. So you have like multiple Aegis applications. You do kind of get some freedom with your utility skills now, because Reaper's Mark is going to give stabs, so you're not so reliant on the Snail Trail to give stability. That opens you up to being able to package in Portal way easier, Desiccate if you need Fury, for example. Dude, taking Desiccate, that skill is so lame. Whenever I have to take that skill on Scourge, I just say, listen, the quickness provider is giving the fury. I'm not getting involved in that, right? We're not going there. We're not going there. What a horrible, horrible, boring skill. There's way cooler stuff that Scourge has, but it does give you a bit more freedom because of the stability on transfusion, which is nice. Makes it way easier to package in Signet of Undeath, Spectral Grasp, Portal, Snake, all the good stuff. I will say, I have bad news. Many of you guys have probably seen this video I made a while back talking about the build known only as the Forbidden One. The Forbidden One. I think this is a bit of a disaster for Hybrid Scourge, unfortunately, which, as many of you know, is kind of one of my favorite builds. I will definitely be experimenting, obviously, but I think the Forbidden One might be dead. Because running Staff, it's a weapon that does like absolutely 0 damage. It's not a good DP. It's, you know, it's a utility weapon in PvP, right? It does like good burst damage, to be honest, but it's going to struggle to be like when you swap to this on the Hybrid Scourge, that is going to feel rough. That is going to feel very, very rough, guys. Very, very rough indeed. Maybe you can cook something up, maybe some kind of a Scepter torch build, right? Or pistol torch build with Staff on the offset, and you kind of swap into that. Maybe there's some kind of hybrid build that survives, but this does punish the Forbidden One, and you know that you honestly hate to see that, guys. You hate to see that. But maybe something can be salvaged out of it. But yeah, that's the Necro changes, man. Again, pretty big stuff. Pretty big stuff indeed. Smaller stuff for Ranger, but still some look, don't be deceived by the low amount of changes. We got some content going on here. Bit of power creep to get things going. Throw torch, ammo, and you apply blind. So they kind of want to, they want to make this more of a viable option, I feel like, in competitive, and kind of make the weapon not just about pure damage. Bonfire now does an immediate burst there as well. So that kind of means that, you know, if you get rewarded for landing this effectively, and then you have that area denial as well. Quick draw. You give quickness in addition to the baseline cooldown reduction that you have there, and light on your feet. Just honestly a bit of quality of life and kind of normalization here. Any evade now will give you the effect, and you can upkeep it easier, right? Like basically this gives you more condition damage. Yeah, duration and damage while you have when you get a dodge, right? And now that's 6 seconds, so you can upkeep that a little bit easier, and it triggers when you evade. So Shortbow 3, for example, is going to give you that, right? And then also, I don't know, something like Lightning Reflexes or Griffin Stance or whatever, right? Like these are all activated now. So, you know, honestly, look, Condi Soulbeat, look, and you can blame Boyce for this. You can blame Boyce. And, you know, I blame him for, you know, if you're a Ranger main, you got to bear in mind, guys, like, Ranger is currently balanced around Boyce and PvP, so it is what it is. Like, you guys are getting nerfed because of him, so now you know who to blame. It's actually not Trig or CMC. I mean, look, we all know this, guys. Trig mains Ranger. He does. He mains it. He's not shy about it either. That's why every single Ranger weapon and skill is insanely good, because he buffs it every patch. But he had to nerf it because of Boyce.
Don't worry. I have the papers in triplicate.
It is what it is, my friends. But anyway, now we're seeing some additional changes here. Cleansing Unleash. This trait now displays an effect when it's not on cooldown. This is just like a quality of life thing because, of course, Unleash doesn't have a cooldown anymore. It used to, so now you can see when you're going to get this proc. Restore the Strikes has been reworked for the 17th time. This trait has been reworked and is now named Biorhythm. And check out this interesting trait. When you or your pet unleash, you gain a stack of Biorhythm every second for 5 seconds, granting a percentage of strike damage as healing. So similar functionality. When you reach the Biorhythm stack threshold, the next time you or your pet unleash, you gain both bonuses. So what they're trying to do here is they're trying to create a very different playstyle. Because right now, the way you play Untamed is that you unleash and then bam, use the skills, and then typically leave, right? You swap very, very quickly. This is trying to, well, give you this rhythm, right? Like you will attune, you'll unleash, wait for 5 seconds, get those stacks, and then when you unleash, you get the damage reduction from and the extra damage, right? Because you have the thing where when you're unleashed, you do more damage, right? And when the pet's unleashed, you take less damage, yeah? Now you're going to get both of those effects as long as you kind of have this rhythm of unleashing, leashing, unleashing, leashing. So again, this is exactly the kind of design I love to see, right? It's this trait that's trying to give you this playstyle. It's directing you in this playstyle. And again, I really do want to emphasize, this, in my opinion, is such a good sign when it comes to class design. Because I feel like, historically, ArenaNet has basically made a bunch of random traits and said, oh, good luck, make of this what you will. What we're seeing here is a bit more top-down design, and I don't think everything should be top-down. I think it's really good that, you know, players can kind of come up with some crazy stuff, and, you know, ArenaNet just throws some wild stuff out there sometimes. But again, this is this World of Warcraft-esque class design that is, okay, we want to create this playstyle for you. We want you to use these abilities in this way. And it turns out that, look, I'm gonna be real with you, that creates fun class design, it really does. Because it means that you can create these very thematic and heavy roleplay and diversified themes, which I think is a really good thing. It's something that Guild Wars 2 does actually lack. So again, I like to see this type of trait design popping up there. Unstoppable Union. This trait has been reworked. Gain protection when entering or leaving beast mode. Yeah, this was kind of a weird one. Right, you know, it got reworked a couple of times. It used to be a stun break, now it isn't. Now it just gets rid of conditions on you, gives you some boons. But now, on Soul Beast, when you enter or leave, you're going to get those boons. Will that make it a bit more attractive? To be honest, I think the ability to remove all of the movement impairing colonies was like pretty damn strong, I guess. So I feel like this might end up being worse a lot of the time, but, and I guess we'll see what happens. You know, we'll see what happens, guys. Anyway, though, that's it for Ranger. Okay, pretty cool stuff. Oh, yeah, also, yeah, Condi Soul Beast is getting juiced, and also Condi Druid. A couple of sleeper builds there, to be honest, guys. Like, Condi Druid in PvE, pretty good, actually. Condi Soul Beast would now be better as well. Very exciting. Like, you know, look, do you guys want to go back to the days of Soul Beast? Do you guys, look, I'm showing my age here again, but do you guys remember Soul Beast Cubed? Shortbow, Soul Beast? That was like the original Teapot build, man. And now, well, you're going to use Torch, but still. Anyway, Revenant coming on up here. And the big one, Heal Vindicator is here. Saint of Suhelza, Alacrity. This is the heal trait. So this is the, when you get the dodge, you get the healing modifier, and you get the healing and barrier. And now you're given a lack. And this is big, okay? Because this build, I'm pretty sure it actually has the highest throughput out of any heal build. Obviously, it is somewhat cumbersome compared to other heal builds, but it's actually surprisingly well fleshed out. Actually, and it has massive healing throughput, crazy healing, with Ventari and Alliance stance there as well, mega AoE healing, mega barrier, and now you're going to have a lag. This is just a build that exists now, right? Like, this is absolutely going to see play, I think. Almost like certainly. I'd be very surprised if this actually ends up being bad. Boon Radius is going to be mid, and I think that is a weakness, but on bosses where you can stack effectively, this is going to give you some insane sustain, to be honest, right? Like, this build has actually been used in very extreme scenarios. I think very notably, Embodiment of Sin. I think I've seen a couple of kills that have utilized Heal Vindicator just as that, basically as a third healer, a pure third healer to just get you through that damage check. And now, yeah, it was held back, of course, because it doesn't give Alacrity, so it never really saw mainstream play outside of a couple of really niche scenarios. But now, this is going to catapult itself into the mainstream, I think. I think we're definitely going to see this pop up. Like, yeah, for sure. And it's getting a little bit more support as well, because Redemptor's Sermon is now saying heal and grant a protection to nearby allies when using your heal skill. The protection there is very notable because this is actually targeted at filling a hole in Heal Vindicator. Heal Vindicator does actually not really have protection application, so I imagine the numbers on this will actually be pretty convincing. And because you are playing Vindicator, you have a shit ton of heal skills. If the internal cooldown on this is low, you can probably just rotate through them and give very high or permanent protection uptime by rotating through your heal skill. And bear in mind, this will proc on moving the tablet. Yeah? Right? If you end up picking this trait here. And yeah, this trait's... What is this bullshit trait? When struck, you heal on a 30-second ICD. What are we doing here? Like, what are we doing with that? This will proc on Ventari tablet moving. So that's going to be big. So yeah, Heal Vindicator, this is just a build that exists now. Enjoy. They're also trying to make Heal Renegade better, because Carlos Fervor is going to give you outgoing heal effectiveness instead of reducing income damage. No one cares. Heal Vindicator, in my opinion, look, people are going to get mad at me for this, but I'm just going to say it. Heal Vindicator, I think, is genuinely one of the most fetid, insipid builds to ever have existed in Guild Wars 2. Stop trying to make it work, okay? If you play Heal Renegade, guys, I think I said Vindicator. I meant Renegade. Heal Renegade, insipid. Heal Renegade should not exist. It is an abomination. The only good version of Renegade is Condi Renegade, very cool build, and DPS Alack Renegade. Power and Condi, both good. And a couple of changes over here. Some Dark Aura shenanigans going on here. So Replenishing Despair, this trait has been reworked. This is the one that gives you an extra pip of energy regen, but you get Torment while you're maintaining something. I think this is actually a bit of a sneaky change to target some AFK farm builds as well. It's like it's a two birds, one stone thing. Will AFK farming still be possible? Yes, obviously. But there was one, I think, particularly egregious build that basically used the Malik's Elite to AoE damage everything and also give quickness and kind of get the boon tag, right, as well, from the in Herald, right? I think this is a sneaky change to prevent that. There are still other ways to do it, like the boon build will still work, but I think it is less effective, actually. So there is that. And now, where you get a Dark Aura, you're going to get Lifesteal, actually. Pretty cool, in my opinion, with that one. And Permeating Pestilence, this is the Condi copy thing. When you Legend Swap, you now get Dark Aura every time. And bear in mind, that's now going to give you Lifesteal. Empowering Misery, you get Dark Aura. That's the Malik's Heal. So boom, again, that's going to funnel into this AoE Lifesteal. And there's a lot of support going on. And bear in mind, guys, when you blast a Dark Field, or if you leap through a Dark Field, you'll also gain Dark Aura, which again, you do have Blast Finisher access a lot on Rev. So you have that potential. You've got to bear that in mind, guys. And more importantly, if I recall correctly, Embrace the Darkness is a dark field. Yes, it absolutely is. This is the Malik's Elite. So we're getting a lot of, honestly, pretty cool synergy here. Because again, if every time you blast this field, you're going to AoE lifesteal, right? Could we actually see some build that kind of utilizes this? I could imagine that. Again, tuning is heavily dependent here, right? But lifesteal Condi Rev build in PvP, maybe? Okay, that's pretty interesting. Kind of like an ultimate team fight brawler. You're getting in there, you're in a big team fight, a 3v3. You're transferring and copying Condis to everyone. You're lifestealing with everyone, right? All right. Okay, I can see that. And of course, we're seeing a buff to Malik, just buffs across the board to Malik's. So now Banished Enchantment is going to apply Torment in addition to removing boons and chilling. Bear in mind, you can also get additional Torment from the trait in Corruption that says whenever you chill, you apply Torments. This could be a really powerful damage ability. Bear in mind, this can also hit multiple targets. It's kind of this weird skill that pierces and hits multiple things. Consider that. Call to Anguish. Now you get a follow-up. So you can leap in and pull people. This is really cool, actually. So you're going to leap in, pull everyone in, and also apply chill, if I'm not mistaken, actually. Yep. And also, it's a leap. So if you use that with your elite skill, you're going to get Dark Aura, which could then also give you AoE lifesteal, right? And then, check this out. Also, you leap into the air with a follow-up skill and slam, dealing burning, torment, and poison. And poison is definitely relevant in PvP, by the way, because, of course, you mitigate healing. That's going to be really good for cleaving downstairs, potentially, or, you know, getting a really big finishing move off there. Really cool synergy, right? So you leap in, maybe get a Dark Aura, pull everyone in, and slam them with the follow-up. Really cool ability rework there, to be honest. Love to see that. And then a couple of changes over here. Brutality. It no longer removes stability while striking with quickness, and instead causes you to deal increased damage when you strike a foe that has protection or stability. Yeah, this is one of those ones that's kind of weirdly unhealthy. You had quickness, and you would remove stability in particular. This is a very uncommon effect, and you could argue it was kind of cool and flavorful, but I think that can feel really bad to play against, right? You're booned up and then all your stab is gone because a Rev wallops you. Yeah, I don't know about that one, bro. That does not feel good, to be honest. There is still an ability that does do this, by the way. It's actually Bountiful Theft on Thief. Which, look, if we want to remove that too, I'm all for it. Let's be real. Thief is cancer, guys. You know, Thief in PvP, we don't like to see that. We don't like those. So maybe, but I actually don't think it's a problem if Thief has that specific utility, to be honest, because I think it is a pretty cool thing, and it does give Thief this kind of special ability to interrupt through stability, which no other class can do, which I think is actually kind of cool. So all memes aside, we can maybe leave that there. But yeah, this was definitely like a weird ability that was maybe up a little bit too much. Like if you have that quickness uptime, you're just able to continuously remove 1 stack of stability every second from targets, right? Which is, I don't know about that one. But it's being reworked. Now you do more damage when you strike a foe that has proc or stability. I think this is really interesting. I think in order to make this good, they're going to have to make it really good. This is competing with... the execute trait, 20% damage below 50%. This would have to be very strong, I think. It does still give you the quickness when you swap weapons, obviously, and when you legend swap. So there is that one. Oh yeah, no, yeah. I was actually checking. I didn't think this triggers when swapping legends. Was just double checking that. Yeah, only when we open swap, right? Specifically worded that way. But yeah, it's gonna be very good. For this to see play, but kind of an interesting little bunker busting trait there. Maybe in PvP, if you're against like a really tanky build that has very high protection uptime, this could actually end up being worth it, right? Like you get quickness, you weapon swap, and you like nuke someone. And aggressive agility, aggressive arrival. It now grants resistance when swapping legends. Just, I think, a more convenient ability. Weapon swap, legend swap, and then boom, you've got resistance, you charge in, you nuke. Much more usable, I think, in terms of like how you could use that. I think that makes it a fair bit more competitive actually with the other traits that exist there. So yeah, pretty damn good. I think this trait actually does see play already, I want to say, because it, you know, pretty nifty, but yeah, I think this just makes it a much more usable trait. But that's it for Rev. Rev is over. Rev is dead. And look, if you thought support Thief builds couldn't win any harder, guys, I don't want to say this, but after how long has it been since EOD? This build might actually, I can't believe this. This build might actually exist. Boring. They made Con the Daredevil do more damage and have a ramp up time that isn't 5 years long. But here we go. Here's the juice. Spectre no longer reduces maximum initiative. Shade Step is no longer lame as hell. Haunt Shot, AoE heal now. Grasping Shadows, AoE alack and regen. Dawn's Repose, the little 3 skill, leapy thing. Okay, grants protection to nearby allies. Eternal Night, giga heal to nearby allies. Mind Shock is now going to give Aegis to nearby allies. So the class kind of like makes sense basically without allied targeting, which is pretty big. But that's not all, my friends. We scroll up. We go to Shadow Arts. Shielding Restoration. This now grants Dark Aura to allies in addition to Barrier, which is when you use your heal skill, right? So you get AoE Dark Aura. Condition damage, condition damage reduction. Kind of nifty. But hold on. Gaining Dark Aura heals nearby allies. Cover of Shadow. When you still create a field around yourself that grants protection to nearby allies. Gaining a Dark Aura removes a condition. So hold on. We've got AoE condition removal. We've got AoE healing from Dark Aura. And we've got AoE Dark Aura that, of course, goes in ourselves. And bear in mind, guys, we have 5 billion blast finishers, right? Because of Shadow Sap, right? On Thief. On Scepter, rather. So we have the ability to get loads of Dark Auras. We have Dark Fields, right? Because Thief has a bunch of these, especially Wells, very notably. On Spectre, I think are Dark Fields. So we have that ability to do that. So all of a sudden, we get even more output. The class is way more playable without having to rely on ally targeting. We've got Maximum Initiative is now up again. Feels damn good. We love to see that. This build might actually be a thing. And this could, look, this could be the next Forbidden one. Like, maybe Celestial Scourge is dead, but maybe Celestial Spectre is back. Okay, oh yeah. Oh yeah. Very exciting. Really good boon access. Healing's going to be juicy. Love to see that Aegis there as well. That is fantastic stuff. That is content, in my opinion. We're going to have really good CC because we're playing Thief, obviously. The numbers look good on this. Like, you're going to have output, I think, You're going to have boons. You're going to have a playstyle that isn't insanely annoying. You're going to have dark auras. Wow. Very exciting, guys. Very exciting. Black powder, initiative cost is going down from 8. Honestly, I see this and I laugh. Okay, I do. I absolutely love to see that. That is just... Because I know the Thief mains get mad when they see that, and honestly, it's music to my ears, guys. It really is. But yeah, like I said, Condi Daredevil, it does more damage now, apparently. It's a pretty juiced build, honestly, and it's niche, but pretty juiced. Impending Lotus damage is going up there as well. And some Daredevil buffs as well. More sustain in PvP. So Escapist Fortitude, when you dodge, you're going to get more healing now. More endurance when you use a physical skill. There as well. Impacted Disruption. This is a trait that kind of lied. It was kind of dead because it got nerfed very aggressively. But now when you get an interrupt, it's going to reduce Steel's recharge. That could be attractive, depending on how strong that is. Like, because Steel, obviously a really big, powerful part of Thief's toolkit. Like a huge amount of power that basically Daredevil builds, well, Thief builds in general really in PvP is packaged into that. I think trait competition in Daredevil is relatively tough. But I think this could be, potentially strong. We'll absolutely have to see there. Impaling Low. Oh, yeah, and the other one for Daredevil is Unhindered Combatant. This trait no longer inflicts exhaustion when removing Cripple. Reduce the exhaustion duration when removing Chill from 3 to 2, and you still have the regular exhaustion when you remove Immobilize. Now, Daredevil, like, we're in a Spectre meta in PvP right now, but I think Daredevil is not exactly bad. You basically play a very aggressive bound-oriented build, like the damage dodge, pretty much. So it's not that it's like completely unplayable. It's just like the nature of the metagame. Typically, like one Thief build dominates. That's how it usually goes, right? Like sometimes it's Spectre, sometimes it's Deadeye, sometimes it's Daredevil, obviously, right? So this just kind of opens that up for like when the meta comes round again, and you're kind of wanting to go for that like hyper mobile, really elusive Thief. It's kind of got a little bit more breathing room, a bit more sustain, and maybe some interesting like steel cooldown reduction there as well. But yeah, honestly, if you're a heal Spectre, it's like happy days, man. Happy days. We love to see it. Yeah, Signet of Shadows are giving Dark Aura now as well. Couple of initiative costs are going up. This is to basically compensate for the fact that you have higher base initiative now. Shadow Sap, that's pretty big. But bear in mind, you're having a good time. You're blasting. You're getting your Dark Auras. You're getting your Caracosa Relic. I mean, listen. We're not we don't hate it. We're not complaining about it. And a couple of buffs to Deadly Arts in PvP in World versus World. So that, Mug, more healing sustain here as well. Revealed Training, just more baseline stats. Exposed Weakness, more damage mods per condition. It's a lot of extra damage, right? If you got like 5 Condis, it's a significant damage mod there. But trying to make Deadly Arts a bit more attractive. Some of the more kind of aggressively oriented builds that really want to have that damage. Because again, like Deadly Arts is one of those trait lines that did fall out of favor a little bit, so we're trying to kind of package some more of that power back in. I think giving a bit more punch to Thief builds, right? Because Thief has been one of those classes that ArenaNet has historically struggled to balance, really, because it has this incredible mobility and really crazy map control in PvP, and incredible evasiveness with stealth. And we've seen a lot of nerfs to the stealth and the evasiveness of Thief, and more counterplay added to that, and, Thief got nerfed damage-wise very heavily because of how elusive and mobile it was, so we're kind of reversing that now. We're adding, because Thief is less evasive now, it's a little bit easier to track down. Some of that damage is now coming back. Makes some sense to me. But yeah, Thief, happy days. And we're ending on Warrior. And yeah, I mean, it's definitely the least exciting changes, but I don't hate it. There's some stuff in there that's pretty cool. I personally would have liked to see, I will admit this, let's actually get real. I would like to have seen a major mechanical change, akin to what happened to basically every other profession. Like every other profession basically got a fairly impactful mechanical change. Like even the more minor ones like Guardian, we got Ray of Judgment being this like super crazy, like new, really exciting skill, right? There's some like pretty major stuff in all the classes. Warrior is the only one that doesn't really have that. I know, dude. And honestly, I hate this. Do you know why I hate this, guys? Because, and I'm gonna drop this. Warrior mains have become the new Ellie mains. And I'm sorry, I apologize if I offend people with that, but I'm sorry, it's true. The amount of wine that comes from Warrior mains. I'm sorry, guys, it's out of control. Am I wrong on this? It's completely out of control. They're the new Ellie mains. They are. New Ellie mains, new Thief mains. They just complain and whine no matter what. And they've got to be stopped. So I wish that they'd actually juiced Warrior really hard to prevent that, but sadly, I think there's no escape. And I do actually want to point out, by the way, guys, people say that Warrior is like dog shit. That's not really true. It's just that, yeah, it's just that people don't play Warrior. I don't even know why. I mean, it's not actually bad. Like, it's really good in World versus World. There's a bunch of builds you can play in PvP. You can play Spellbreaker in PvP. You can play Berserker in PvP. You can play Core Warrior in PvP. It's the same in World versus World, by the way. Like, Spellbreaker is good, support and DPS. Berserker is good as a DPS build. Core Warrior is actually good as a DPS build in PvP as well. I will concede that heal Berserker in PvE could use a bit of work. It's not as bad as people think, though, by the way. It's really not. It's absolutely not as bad as people think it is. But it's pretty mediocre. And yeah, it doesn't really have a support build in PvP because, you know, look, support Spellbreaker, guys, trust me, be careful what you wish for. If that build is good, PvP becomes not good, okay? That's all I'm going to say, okay? Unless we rework it a little bit. It's like one of those builds, like any build in PvP that's very oriented around shouts does not feel good to me. Because look, I'm not biased on this. I'm not joking. I'm going to get mean for saying that, but it's true. Like, because I played this build a lot. I played a build Core Guard for a long time. Straight up, in my opinion, I consider Core Guardian to be one of the most obnoxious, anti-fun cancer builds that has ever existed in Guild Wars 2 PvP. Why? Because it's super uninteractive. All of Core Guardian's effects, they're on instant cast AoE abilities. All the virtues are instant cast AoE. Shouts are instant cast AoE. It is so depressing to fight that build, honestly, a lot of the time. There's a reason why I think that stuff like Firebrand somehow and Tempest are way healthier because they're much less reliant on that. Chrono is a little bit with Shatters that can feel really unfun, but like even Chrono has a lot of like weapon skill cast that it does end up using, right? To kind of deliver its support value to the team. So yeah, I think that support builds that have very heavy instant cast are not good. But anyway, I'm getting derailed here. Still got the Warrior change because some of these are actually good. I do like this change to Eviscerate in particular. Actually, this is really cool flavor. So the range is up to 450, so you actually can properly land it. This is a weird skill. It would not leap you far enough a lot of the time. It just felt super awkward. And cool flavor. 50% increased critical strike chance and power coefficient going up. This is kind of a Core Warrior oriented change because Core Warrior is actually playable, by the way. It's you know, they've been trying to make core builds better, particularly in competitive modes, for a long time now. And Core Warrior is one of those builds that is actually seeing play in PvP right now. In particular, Goku is, and the French teams are a fan of Core Warrior. And you see it kind of pop up there in the guys, the teams that they play in. And yeah, now it's going to have guaranteed crit, basically in PvP. If you've got like a Marauder Amulet, Berserker Amulet, you're going to get guaranteed crit on this. Not relevant in PvE, obviously, but this is very much like, oh, you're always going to crit now with Eviscerate in PvP, which I think is really cool. Cyclone Axe, more fury as well. So again, getting that crit chance up so you can maintain that, land an Eviscerate, land a big Throw Axe. Throw Axe damage is going down, some of that power being added back into Eviscerate, which I think makes sense. And also, this ability was a bit goofy, I'm going to be real. Like, this ability does so much damage. You throw a tiny little axe and it would just obliterate you. It's still going to do good damage, obviously. Damage increase at 50% from 50 to 25 and 25 from 100% to 50%. So it is significant reduction there, but it's still going to hit pretty damn hard. It's not going to be like this like tickle ability. It's going to slap a bit. Mace changes, you know, okay. The stun duration, I believe, is going up by 0.25. I think this is actually a slight typo here. It says 1.5, 2.0, but actually the current duration is 1.23, so it's going to be going up to 1.25, 2.25, and 3.25 is what it's actually going up to. Okay. I feel like this is one of those filler changes. It's like, yeah, now it's got a very long stun when you land that. Counter blow is a bit more usable. You can reactivate to actually like wallop someone instead of having to get a counter blow. So you can, you know, if your opponent's refusing to hit you, you can whack them, which is good. Bit more playability on it. No longer grants adrenaline when it ends, and now grants adrenaline when you strike an enemy. So in other words, when you actually connect, as opposed to letting it run out, you're going to get the adrenaline. I think that's actually a positive design change. Does a bit more damage there as well. 100 blades, more DPS and PvE. You know, great sort of very iconic weapon, of course, for warrior DPS builds. Has very much fallen off and outcompeted by power creep, basically. And now, this is a pretty significant buff. Like, obviously, it's hard to tell off the top of my head if this is going to end up being good, but I think it will certainly be a much more viable alternative. Body blow. This is a weird trait. It was in the strength trait line, which is not a very Condi-oriented thing, but it applied bleeding and weakness. Now it's going to be Vuln weakness, which I think makes a bit more sense. And, you know, that gives it some applicability, right? You're going to CC someone and whack them with this, and then they get a vulnerability, so you can then follow up, right, and get even more damage. Makes a lot of sense design-wise. And this is the big one, I think, for PvE, actually. Hammer Spellbreaker. I think one of those builds that... This build didn't get nerfed, by the way, and it's really strong. Defense, Hammer Spellbreaker. Loads of self-healing, basically perma-stability, full counter, super tanky, very solid damage output. The poor thing just got power crept. Other builds just got better. Like, this build didn't get worse. Other shit just got more OP. And now we're seeing some of that power just get added. Look, the number goes up. Merciless Hammer, 25% damage mod in PvE, up from 20. Stalwart Strength. We're getting just a flat 10% mod, right? On top of this. And bear in mind, the mods are multiplicative. It's even a little bit better than it looks. Yeah, this build is just straight up back, right? There's no two ways about it. This is going to be pretty juicy, I think, after the patch. So yeah, Hammer Spellbreaker is back. Pretty cool, I think. That should help it kind of catch up with the power creep a little bit. I think it will be a really robust option for players looking for that kind of really tanky DPS experience, and that's exactly what Hammer Spellbreaker can deliver to you. Berserker, Heat the Soul. This is the quickness trait. Quickness goes up from 3 to 5. Just makes it... this was honestly one of the quickness builds that has a harder time maintaining quickness, and this just normalizes it, really. Like, ArenaNet have made a very conscious decision to make upkeeping boons trivial and, like, not difficult in any way. And Berserker was honestly an outlier in that regard. And now this is really helping out with that. Massive duration increase on this will make it way easier to maintain quickness. I think this particularly helps out the spear build, if I recall correctly, and makes Heal Berserker have an easier time upkeeping that as well. So I think just a positive change here. Overall, really can't complain about that. And Dead or Alive, this is kind of the sustain trait that when you go in Berserk, you get Blood Reckoning. Now you're going to get Blood Reckoning, and you're also going to heal a little bit. So it's just better. This is giving you even more sustain if you end up going in that direction with Dead or Alive. And Bladesworn. Bladesworn basically getting a little nudge in the playability direction, pretty much. Like, they're trying to make it so flow is just irrelevant. All of the flow traits just give you 2 stacks of flow in PvE only now, so you're just always going to have flow. If you did ever get disrupted, it's now significantly less likely you're going to get disrupted with the amount of flow you have. Dragon Scale Defense. This gives you stability in PvE with an 8-second cooldown when you enter Dragon Trigger. Now it doesn't have an ICD, so you're always going to get it. And again, I think that's just a really nice playability thing, because Bladesworn is entirely oriented around these big hits, right? These, like, really juicy hits. And if you get CC'd, it's like, oh, it's over. Now that's going to be significantly less likely, right? You're going to have stability for basically all of your dragon triggers. So in PvE, you'll be able to get that off very effectively. It's protection, of course, in competitive modes. So you're always going to have that protection uptime when you're kind of charging up and making yourself a little bit vulnerable in that regard. Unshakable Mountain, you gain barrier when you convert flow into charges while being below the charge threshold, and Lush Forest no longer has an internal cooldown. Like Plenix was saying, this is good for Heal Bladesworn. Cope Harder is how I respond to that. And Unshakable Mountain, I mean, okay, right? Like, I think this is kind of aimed at, like, Bladesworn in competitive modes, kind of PvP and World vs. World roaming builds. It actually, I have seen people play this in World vs. World. I think it's a bit of a fan favorite, and I've seen Floor play this in PvP. It doesn't typically come up in high level play a lot of the time, but it is definitely playable. But again, like, not one of the super meta builds, I would say, in that regard. And also some other quality of life options here as well. Artillery Slash, it now always dazes at 1 ammo spent and stuns for 3 at 2 ammo spent in PvE only, basically making it easier to access. It is almost like more in line with the PvP functionality, basically. It just makes it like more easily accessible to get that CC, essentially, on the Artillery Slash. Dragon Spite Mine no longer creates a mine. But you just get it. I guess the RP here is you summon a mine, and then you stomp the mine yourself, maybe, so you always get the explosion on that. So again, you don't have to worry about, like, getting it in the boss's hitbox to trigger it. So there's a playability increase, right? And detonate cartridges. This skill is now replaced by supercharged cartridges. Supercharged cartridges causes your remaining overcharged cartridges to increase explosion damage even more. I think this is kind of like makes this ability easier to use, no? Yeah. Yeah, that's basically the situation. Basically, Bladestorm's being made easier to play. The 7 people in the entire game who play this will be happy about it. But for the rest of us, it's still going to be Dogsworn. So yeah, not that, you know, we're kind of ending on a, you know, not a negative note, right? I'd say overall, Warrior mains are certainly not unhappy with this, in my opinion. I think it's, you know, you're not getting your triple arc divider spin back, and, you know, we haven't got a major rework, but I mean, we can't really complain about it, right? Like, Hammer Spellbreaker's getting buffed up, Eviscerate is going to be easier to land there as well, kind of, you know, potentially opening some options for core Warrior builds in PvP. I mean, I don't know. Quickness is now way more convenient. I would have liked to see more here, right? I would definitely have liked to see more. A big mechanical change like a lot of the other classes got, but it is what it is. I think it's slightly comical that Warrior is the one that kind of has the least exciting changes, given how Warrior players are feeling right now. But yeah, that's it. And look, I actually kind of want to wrap up now. We've gone over all the changes. This is what I'm talking about. This is what every balance patch should look like. I think that ArenaNet really struggled with this over the last 2 balance patches. I suspect that's because they were really busy working on the next expansion's combat feature, and maybe they were a bit bandwidth locked, but this is actually a really good patch. Like, this is going to actually change the game. Like, one of the things about Guild Wars 2 that has personally kind of turned me off from the game is the game has felt incredibly stagnant, right? It just has not changed, right? There are not new builds. Like, the game feels exactly the same. And it has done for years, to be frank. You know, the absence of elite specializations mean that the game just doesn't really change. It's static. And it has been for most of SOTO. And I think, funnily enough, some of the, in particular, SOTO, like Weapon Mastery hasn't helped with that. It's kind of, you know, being able to use weapons on every class is kind of struggle with this a little bit, in my opinion. But yeah, this is really good. I want to see more. This is kind of hype. You know, I want to log in and try heal early. You know, I want to log in and try this new heal necro build, right? You know what I mean? And in PvP, I think things are going to change. There's going to be like some new metagame stuff. Like Heal Spectre is really exciting. Yeah, ArenaNet cooked. They really, really did. You know, CMC and Trig were chained for the last like 3 patches or so. They appear to be unchained. I want to see more of this. I want to see some high-impact gameplay. I think it's really important that ArenaNet remember that content is content, but balance is content as well. Like, changing the way that you interface with the content that exists is a big deal, especially in Guild Wars 2, where a big part of the business model and the content model is that, you know, you can go back and do old raids, you can go back and do the open world, and, you know, it's still, you know, it still exists, right, in the same way that it always has. So yeah, like, you can essentially get more content by actually giving people new toys to play with and changing stuff, adding new builds, adding new combinations, right, changing the metagame. This is a huge part of keeping the game fresh, and I think it's been a major problem with the game, basically since the new expansion model with Secrets of the Obscure. So I really do love to see this. I absolutely do, guys. Very impressed. I'm impressed by this. I will admit that. So very well done to the ArenaNet team for getting this done. I think we could see a bit of energy, actually. You know, I'm obviously involved in a lot of the endgame scene. The endgame scene has been very quiet and pretty negative, right? Because people are feeling bored with the game. People are feeling the game is stale, right? I think a lot of people have been feeling the way for a long time. I think stuff like this is how you can kind of rejuvenate it a bit. So yeah, super cool. Super, super, super cool. Oh yeah, dude. Yeah. Oh yeah, dude. Maybe the new forbidden one is, oh my God, Celestial Hybrid Forbidden Vindy. Oh shit, dude, that could be big. That could actually be pretty big, huh? Oh ho ho! Well, look, we'll see about that next time. Oh, guys, we have to talk about the relics. I almost forgot.
On the CCs,
They teased the new relics. Let me boot that up for you real quick. Boom! These are the new relics that are coming in the next patch. This is not on the 24th. This is with the content patch, which theoretically is going to be June 3rd. We don't actually know for sure, but that is the approximation. So, relic number 1. Enemies you interrupt are inflicted with a unique damaging debuff. This is basically a condition that's not a condition. Okay, pretty interesting. The second relic is upon using a stance skill, Cleanse Condies. So that's going to be something that really screams Weaver in PvP to me, because they use a lot of stances there. But there's other builds that do as well, like Soul Beast, for example. Warrior can use a couple of those too. Relic, Relic 3 is upon using a cantrip or meditation, you gain Prot. Less exciting one there, I think. Yeah, I don't know where that would fit. Maybe I'm not seeing it right now, but I feel like that's not. I'm not sure if I can think of a build that would fit into right now. But nevertheless, I think it's cool that it works on 2 different ability types. Pretty interesting. Relic 4, grant yourself a stack of Might. When you grant Might to yourself, gain increased crit chance while you have Might above the stack threshold. Depending on the numbers there, this actually could be a really interesting relic for a build in PvE that maybe doesn't crit cap very well, and maybe you can go ahead and use this relic to crit cap, for example. It would have to be quite strong, though, obviously, because there's some really powerful DPS relics, but maybe. We'll have to see how that's tuned. And also, because it basically lets you Might stack really hard, any kind of PvP build or world versus world build, or even like a solo build in PvE that maybe doesn't quite cap the 25 Might, is going to giga cap itself with this. So that's potentially interesting, so keep an eye out for that as well. Relic number 5, gain volatility when you successfully combo a field with a blast finisher. Blasting at the stack threshold. Basically, you get like a stacking buff when you do a blast. Blasting at the stack threshold triggers an explosion, granting increased damage. So this is like a DPS relic that loves blast finishers. So, that could be Engineer, for example. Like Revenant has a lot of blast finishes. Like Ellie has a lot of blast finisher, like Scepter Elementalist in particular. Or like Dagger Elementalist builds could, maybe get some value out of that. So I think that, yeah, I'm missing some that could be listed there as well. There's like a lot of builds that could potentially use that. Again, interesting to see. Like, cool effect there in my opinion. And the giga spicy one. Look, ArenaNet loved the Forbidden One so much, they made the Forbidden One. Gain a stacking buff upon complete certain combat triggers. When you reach the buff threshold, gain increased stats and all boons for a duration. Oh, shit. So, you have to use a healing skill, an elite skill, evade an attack, disable an enemy, and do a combo. You have to do each of those once. Now, I feel like you can do that really easily in competitive modes in particular, like get an evade, right? World versus world, like this kind of screams world versus world to me. Especially because thing is, in world versus world, right? Use your heal skill, evade an enemy, disable, do a combo, and you can save your elite, right? You save your elite skill, trigger the buff, get all the boons, get extra stats. Yeah? So this feels like this could see some play in world versus world in particular, I want to say, because it's relatively easy to kind of fill those conditions and still have the timing, the ability to activate it when you want. I'd say similarly for PvP as well. You could do it in PvE as well, but the evade condition might be sometimes a little bit annoying, potentially. And also your elite skill might be rotational too. That could be problematic in PvE. So it might be a little bit more tricky there. That's not true for all classes though. Like some elite skills have very, you can proc elite very easily, like Mortar Kit on NG, healing skill on, like, I don't know, like Rev has 2 healing skills, for example, mantras on Mesmer, right? Like short cooldown elite skills, for example. There's a bunch of those that you could maybe trigger with this as well. So yeah, it's a little bit like Weave Self. It's a bit of a Weave Self situation. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I could definitely see this in World versus World, like being powerful for sure. So yeah, I actually like the design of these. These are pretty spicy. I think that it's fairly likely that there will be builds that will end up using those, which is exactly what you want to see. So yeah, overall, this is a fat patch, man. Like, dude, ArenaNet, we are so back. We are so back, guys. Like, ArenaNet has activated here. Like I said, they're unchained. They're unchained. ArenaNet is fully unchained. CMC and Trig are activated. After going from no stream for the last patch to a full stream for this, there was no Roy. Maybe Roy was the problem. We don't know. We don't know that. And we got to throw that out there. But yeah, honestly, love to see it. I really, really do. This is a cool patch. And we get the content patch coming up as well, obviously. That's going to be on, well, again, theoretically on June 3rd is when we're going to be dropping the next Guild Wars 2 and the finale of Jantho Wilds, right? Like the finale of Jantho Wilds, guys. But yeah, that's it. Shout out to YouTube, guys. We had 350 people watching this live on YouTube, so love you guys. Glad you're still here. I know I haven't been as active as previously. I'm working on that. You know, I've got a couple of things I'm cooking up. So stay tuned for that. Yeah. What do you guys think of the patch? Leave your comments down below. Okay. Follow, subscribe, follow my stream on Twitch, watch the stream on YouTube, subscribe on YouTube, buy 50 copies of Guild Wars 2 and Guild Wars 1. My referral link works on Guild Wars 1, by the way, guys. So look, we've got to go through the list now. Follow, subscribe, like the video, leave a comment, put Peepo in the chat, okay, put Peepo in YouTube comments, watch the YouTube stream, like the YouTube stream, watch the old YouTube streams because they're all there. Follow me on every social media I have, buy Guild Wars 2 using my referral link, buy Guild Wars 1 using my referral link, get ready to pre-order the next Guild Wars 2 expansion also using my referral link with the Ultimate Edition as well, gift 50 subs, use your Twitch Prime, okay, have it on your other monitor, just basically viewbot the stream, okay, do it now, watch every other YouTube video, and that's it. Boom. Thanks for watching YouTube. Thanks for watching Twitch. Shout out to YouTube once again, Aboba. I'll see you guys next time. I'm done. I'm out. And we're high energy as well. Boom.